Muted.
Okay, just a little after 2, so I think it's time we can get this sugar call started. Again, everyone currently is on mute, but always feel free to unmute yourself to ask a question and or to chat in if anything comes up that you'd like to ask. There is actually an agenda for the day. One, the first will be people trying to edit coaching logs, and then we're going to get into a discussion about external requisitions. There seem to have been a lot of questions on that. And then we'll do a sample transfer. And then the other piece that we'd like to go, where I think we actually might start with, as we're awaiting Sharon to join the meeting, the back entry, which is for those of you that have already spent your QI dollars, but now you need to get it into the system. So that's the agenda for today. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. If you can't, please let me know. So this then is through EC Connect. So what I wanted to talk about was that going through EC Connect is a much easier way to enter all your previous spending. The reason why is when you go through EC Connect, it will let you know if you're missing information. In other words, if you or a QI navigator, if someone has spent some QI dollars and they enter it directly through Sugar and create a requisition, Sugar is not going to let you know if you're missing any information. It's not as an intuitive flow to make sure you capture all the pieces that you need. So therefore, we want everyone to go through EC Connect. It also, and I'm speaking for myself as I've been doing this the last couple of days, it gives you a little bit of practice if you're able to sit there and go through, since it's the same process that you'll be doing for any ordering or helping your providers as well. Does anyone have any questions so far about anything? Okay. So again, here's where you'll the homepage you'll go to when you log in to EC Connect, and then you can either go here to access QI funds, or there's also the drop down with quality improvement that will take you here as well. And then again, hopefully everyone has seen this part already, to go through and see the different steps you'll need to take in order to process this. So we'll go in, and then I, of course, have a test site. And again, just to reiterate, this, what I'm going to demonstrate is how we will go through and put in back entry orders. These are for orders that have already been placed that you merely need to get into the system in order to record it for the QIP goals, as well as decrease the available funding that providers will see since there's already been some funds spent. Okay, so in the test site, this is my funding stream, race to the top, and you can see here that I have about $559 that I am able to spend. In this section, you will also be able to see all of your funding streams. You know, most councils have more than one, so if you have CCAP, race to the top, school readiness, etc., you will see all of them listed here for that site, in addition to your funds remaining. Okay. So I'm just going to request. Okay. And then as you can see, the beta, since I'm in a test site, since I will not actually be ordering for any providers at this point. Okay. So here again, since I've only once, this is all what I have selected on the previous page. So one, select the child care site. Step 2, select the QI funds you'd like to use and process. And then step 3 relates if you have a QI request saved as a draft. you must complete and submit the draft before starting the new QI request form. Let's go this way. While it's thinking. Let's see. Okay, so what I'd like to do is, as you can see down here, it says enter previously processed ordered. Okay, so what this is doing is, this is actually a good example. So since this is a test site, myself and Joni utilize this all the time to test different features. So since there's a draft already in place, I'm not able to start a new QI request form or enter a previously ordered one. This will happen if you have a draft that's been started per funding stream. The system will not allow you to open a new one. That's actually a good example. So what I'm going to do is try and go back and see if I can choose another site. Okay. Let's go down here. Okay, so as you can see now, it's showing me right here my CCAP dollars, 8,800. And now, since there's no related draft to this funding stream, I can open a new one, or what I want to do is enter previously processed orders. I'm going to go this way. Is there any questions? I'm just going to stop here before I get into the heart of it. Any ordering. Feel free again to unmute yourself or chat in any questions. I just want to take a look. Especially maybe any questions for those who have done some QI spending that may be wanting to get to this sooner rather than later. As I know, a few councils, they've not connected with the providers through EC Connect because they want to make sure that there's an accurate balance for the providers to see, since if you've already spent some of the dollars but it's not in sugar, your provider will see that full amount when they log into EC Connect. Okay. Okay. So as you can see, all the information here, and there have been some developments to update, so there may be some more steps and some more text to help everyone follow along. So if it looks a little bit different than last time you logged in, it's only been improvements. So hopefully they will all help you. Again, you can see the child care site selected. Again, I can see how much funding I have available for me. And then, of course, what we need to do is select the QIP goal. So again, this is for previously ordered QI spending that you've already received. So we'll select learning environment, payable to. So always very important. Who was the order payable to? Did the site go ahead and purchase it themselves and they requested reimbursement? Or as always, the preferred method is direct to vendor, either to an approved vendor or request to use another vendor. Okay, so I'm going to choose the one of the easier ones, which is direct to approved vendor. So at this point, let's say I utilize discount school supply. Okay. Okay, and then let's see, what shall we buy? I think learning materials. So at this point, you'll have the information again. You may already have an invoice at this point where you will be able to just data enter in this line item. So we'll make up some numbers, and we're going to buy, say, an easel. Easel will go 3, and they were $15. And we'll go 0 to 5. So what will you see right here? No learning environment goals were found. So this, again, is something where entering these orders through EasyConnect will help you. So I'll need to go back up to where I selected the QIP goals. We'll see if we can find one. Again, with the test environment, not everything is linked, so we'll see if we can. Incompatible with learning materials. So again, here's another example of an error. So let's remove this. Okay. So let's see if I'm able to check for any questions at this point. I can add this. No. Okay, so it seems that since I'm choosing this test site, I'm not able to actually put in a line item since they don't seem to be linked to a QIP for this funding stream. So again, this is just an example of some of the errors that you may receive where the QIP goals become extremely important to make sure they correspond to the order that you're placing. And then once you're able to complete this section, you will put in total shipping and any sort of discount that you associate with your order. You'll notice on the left that attachments, QI, additional documentation. At this point, though, you will not need to utilize this, but it will be on the screen. And then in the text area, editable text area over here, it says, please describe how and why these items or activities will be utilized for QI of that site. Does anyone have any questions at this point?
So since this is back entry, you can also use that attach QI documentation to attach invoice or proof of payment or any required documentation that you've already processed, because a back entry means that you've completely processed the order outside of Sugar. So you should have those attachments available. And then it just saves you some steps in Sugar. It's a little easier to upload that through the portal than it is in Sugar. You can definitely still upload it once you get to Sugar, though, as well.
Okay, saw a question in chat. So Katie just mentioned this is the issue we were coming into while using a site for test as well. So then just an example of that makes sense if it was not linked. I want to see if I have any other sites. Just so you can see, I can't. My funding stream is not allowing me to choose learning environment with my it's not matching with the QIP goal.
Right. And this is a real site. So is this a real order that we're trying to enter, or is it still a test?
No, this is still test.
Okay, so we just want to cancel this request.
Okay.
Because you want to be careful, because this is really putting in the spending, so it will deduct from their requisition amount, even in draft format. So if we go to Bill's Child Care Test.
So when, and this was actually a great example, because when you go to Bill's Child Care Test, it seems Joni has started a draft. So it doesn't let you create a backorder entry because there's a draft in place.
Right. So then if you scroll down, you can actually complete that draft, or you can cancel that draft. Since this is just a test, you know that it can be canceled. And then by canceling it, what happens in Sugar is that the status changes to canceled and it zeroes out everything. So for reporting purposes, it won't mess up your reports. But what it does is it saves the fact that somebody attempted an order for some reason and that it was canceled. You do not have permission to delete spending records, but you can delete spending detail records. So the way that you sort of effectively delete a spending record is you cancel it, and that will give it a $0 balance.
Okay, so as discussed, so I canceled the draft. It keeps a record of it. So now, as mentioned, you're able to choose to open a new QI request or enter previously processed orders. So we will go forward with this. And again, feel free to unmute yourself if anything comes up at any time while remaining on the page.
And just as a quick tip, now the links that are Bill's Child Care Test and Bill RTP QI, those actually go to Sugar. So if that's only available if you are a Sugar user and you're logged into EC Connect. If you're a provider, those would not be links. They're just text to the provider. But this allows you to quickly go back and see the history on the requisition or check out something on Bill's Child Care Test record. So it just is making it a little bit easier to navigate between Sugar and EC Connect.
Okay, great. So then we'll go down here to select our QIP goal. We'll go to learning environment. And again, payable to child care site is if you will be processing a reimbursement for them. But let's select a direct to approved vendor. This will be most, and we'll go to discount school supplies. Okay. So then here, it lists all the different request items that you can click on. We'll go learning materials. And again, you should have this information, and for much of your spending, you may even have the invoice in front of you, so this will some data entry to upload into the system. And we'll just order, I think that's how you spell it. I'm going to get 3, and there, $25. And then again, as I said, this is much easier than if you were to input through Sugar, through 5, since it gives you the process flow as you go. Yes, okay. So that's added. So that's all I'm going to order today. Oh, thank you. Okay, and then you can see obviously the different choices for scope, and specific classroom will then generate all the classrooms related to that provider, and you will just want to go and select them. Although I picked 5, I'll select this classroom 1A. Okay. And then again, if you already have the invoice or documentation, you'll be able to upload it right here instead of having to go back through Sugar. And then provide your narrative for how these items or activities will help with the quality and improvement for the program. I'll just put test in here, and we'll hit submit. Oops, it looks like we're missing some information. So as you can see, please check your entries on this form, including signature. And then below that, you'll see having trouble. This will actually indicate your QI navigator for the provider. So let's see where I missed your signature. Ah, there we go. And then we'll just submit again. Yay! Congratulations. We had gotten some feedback regarding the submission and whether it had gone through or not. So now whether you're entering a back entry order or a new order, or you're completing your draft, this will let you know that you have successfully submitted it a lot clearer than it had previously been.
And also you can, right from here, you can click on the QI request history link, and that will show you right from here, and that will show you all of the existing spending records against a particular requisition. So ECLA doesn't have any, so Bill's Child Care Test. And so from here, you can actually go directly to Sugar. That button is only available for Sugar users. And so you may have, like you just entered the $75 back entered spending record. So you can go and click on that right away and then get that started in the pre-approval process for your spending record. Are there any questions on that? So you can see all the information we just entered in EC Connect is now in Sugar.
And at this point, the status will let you know that it indicates this was a previously ordered request.
So we've gotten some feedback from some councils who have been going through the spending process, and there has been some confusion on which steps come when. And so if you, Marianne, if you could click on the status drop down, there are a lot of statuses available at any given time during the spending record process. And so what we determined is that we're going to set up a sort of more action-based drop-down that will be a little bit more specific on what are you trying to do at this moment, and then it will self-select the status for you so that you don't even have to think about status is going to be the best status to select, you know, at that time. All you need to do is say, oh, I want to send this to my program manager for pre-approval. So it would say, you know, send to program manager for pre-approval. So it's kind of driven by verbs instead of, you know, what is the status of the record. So there are a couple of examples like that we will be implementing, like reopen draft in EC Connect. So now that we have this concept of a draft spending record, if a QI navigator wants to quickly go in and update several QIPs all at once, QIP goals all at once, they can just change the status to draft in the spending record, and that will reopen it in EC Connect so that they can go and make whatever changes they need to and resubmit. So there are a lot of examples like that where it's going to be more specific to how do I get the PO generated for the vendor? Well, in order to generate a complete PO that is not blank, you need to have it go through the pre-approval process first. So the manager needs to pre-approve, or the coach needs to pre-approve the spending record first, and then you would have the option to send the order to the vendor. So right now we have a lot of people who are kind of skipping over the pre-approval process and going straight to send order to vendor. And so what's happening is they're generating an email that has no information in it because the order has not been pre-approved. So hopefully that will start to make a little bit more sense. We're really trying to make it a little more plain language on, you know, what am I trying to do right now? I want to cancel this request, or I want to send back to the QI navigator for correction, or Mark is waiting for provider to respond. So just, you know, plain language, like this is what I'm trying to do to this record. And then Sugar will be smart enough to figure out what does it need to do to itself to make that action actually happen. Are there any questions on that?
And then in addition, so with the back entered, as this was literally just finished today with our developers working very hard to get that done for us, I'll be working with one council next week to actually sit down and go through this, and then if we identify any issues that may come up, we can take care of them. I know for people it's really important for us to get everything in Sugar, make sure the providers have all the availability of an accurate fund number for them moving forward. So that's a big goal. So if you know, you'd like to reach out to me directly to maybe do it as well together, I'm completely available to do that. It helps myself as well learn just on the QI Navigator coach side, since they're putting in the orders. You know, I've lived a little more on the other side of reconciling, so I think it's good for both ends. And then again, that's happening Tuesday with one council in particular, so again, feel free to reach out. We can do it over the phone or a webinar, or if you're close, I can always come to you as well. Okay, great. And Katie from Arapahoe said, just don't forget to feed me lunch. And I will always take lunch if I go to you, so that's always good as well. Okay, so I reviewed the agenda to discuss coaching.
Okay, do we want to jump into coaching?
I think so.
Okay, so we do know that there have been some issues with there are some issues with the emails that are being sent around external coaching balances. So as most of you may be aware, when a requisition balance goes into the negative, like you run out of coaching hours or you run out of dollars on your QI dollars requisition, then it will send a notification email to the program manager on the funding stream and also to the person who's assigned to that requisition. So in the case of a coaching requisition, that should always be the coach. And in the case of the QI dollars requisition, that is going to be the QI Navigator identified on the account record. So we discovered recently that there was an error in the way that external coaching requisition dollar balances were calculating. So what that means is that for coaching, we're mostly concerned with hours. So we track the assigned hours and then hours that have been used, meaning they've been scheduled or completed in Sugar. And then we have a remaining coaching hours balance. The main difference between the internal coaching type and the external coaching type is that external coaching is also supposed to track dollars and hours, because the external coaching type is for your contracted coaches. So the contracted coaches should be sending you an invoice that says, you know, I did 10 hours of coaching and I'm charging you $900, or 10 hours of coaching and $1,000. So what was happening is that there was no originally assigned funds dollar amount in the requisition. So even though there was the amount utilized, the remaining balance was showing up as negative for external coaching requisitions, even because there just simply wasn't an initial dollar amount assigned. So that has now been corrected. So all external coaching requisitions, you can now see the coaching assigned funds, the amount utilized, and the remaining balance. So you should not be getting those negative requisition emails unless you truly have a negative requisition balance, which is also happening right now as well. So I know that was a little bit convoluted, but basically now external coaching hours appropriately tracks the dollars and the hours. Internal coaching you're going to use for your personnel coaches, and you're only going to track the hours because you're keeping track of their salary outside of Sugar. And then QI dollars is only going to be dollars and has nothing to do with hours. Are there any questions on that? There are a couple of related things that have come up on the support desk as well, which are, what do you do when you actually do have a negative requisition balance? So let's say for Race to the Top, you had a site who had 10 coaching hours assigned, and the coach on the requisition just scheduled another coaching session, so they're at 12 coaching hours used, which would make it a negative 2-hour balance. So what that's going to do is it's going to generate an email that says, you know, it looks like this requisition has a negative balance of -2 hours. If you'd like to allow that overage, then you need to transfer hours from your pooled council requisition for that funding stream down to that provider's coaching hours. Alternatively, you can also take that provider's QI dollars and convert those QI dollars, some portion of those QI dollars, to coaching hours. All of that is done through the transfers module, and there is a step-by-step guide on the ECLA support site. We've gotten kind of mixed feedback on whether or not that is clear enough, so we're actually going to revisit that document and see if we can make it a little more straightforward. But really, it is exactly like a bank transfer. So you're going to transfer, if you've got $100 in one requisition and you want it to equal $500, then you would need to transfer $400 from a different requisition to the first requisition to equal $500. Does anyone have any questions on that? I felt like I was just saying a high school word problem out loud, so I'm sure that didn't really translate very well. Should we show that on the screen?
I think that would be great. I'm going to give you the power.
Oh, thanks. I actually don't have anything pulled up.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be great to show an example. And then again, feel free. Sharon and I, as she said, are going to revisit and look at the guide and just see what we can clarify to reduce some of the questions for everyone. I think you're just sharing.
Yes, I'm just sharing.
Okay.
All right, so can you see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So I just pulled up an example from Denver where a negative requisition email was generated, and as you can see now, we have the assigned funds correctly in place for this. Oh, this one is actually we're just going to, does anyone have an example that they want to share of maybe a site that has used more coaching hours than they had in their requisition and you need to transfer hours? It would be good to do a real example. Is anyone chatting in? Okay, well we'll just do an example then. So we're just going to go to the transfers module, and we're going to create. It looks like there are people who are using this, so that's great. We're going to create a transfer. I recommend going to the transfers module itself and then hitting create. If you create a transfer from a requisition screen, then it will auto-populate both the from requisition and the to requisition with the same requisition. And sometimes that might result in kind of saving basically a neutral requisition because it transfers to itself. So I would always recommend starting with a clean transfer. So we're going to transfer from, I'm going to put in DECC because you want to put in your council's team abbreviation. That is going to be your pooled requisition.
Pueblo gave an example.
Oh, good.
That would be great. So from the Pueblo Council, it's Life Center Academy.
And they have a negative balance. and what funding stream?
Yes, so Teresa, if you could let us know the funding stream and confirm the negative balance, please.
And
yes, CCAP. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to find PECC, CCAP 16, internal coaching. And we see this is the Pueblo Early Childhood Council, and oops, it looks like this one's negative too, so we'll have to go fix that. And then what is the abbreviation for the child care program? So you want to always start with the abbreviation for that child care program so that you can look for all their requisitions.
ICA.
ICA?
Yes.
Oh, no matches found.
It's
yes, Teresa.
LCA.
LCA. Oh, that was my error. I thought it was a capital I.
Perfect. So then we can see LCA, CCAP 16, internal coaching. So you always want to make sure these match internal coaching, CCAP, CCAP. And so you know that you're not going to have any problem with the transfer. So it looks like Life Center Academy is at negative 1025. But right now, our Pueblo CCAP internal coaching pooled requisition is negative as well. So I think first we want to go look at that. So let's find, so if you look for your pooled requisition, so you want to say is pooled, yes. And then I also want to look for PECC. So I'm doing %sign PECC. And I'm going to look for the CCAP internal coaching. So it looks like, just going back for a second, looks like Pueblo, you haven't updated your pooled requisitions. So you want to make sure these are in alignment with your approved budget. And the guidance that was given is that you can allow for up to 20% discretionary QI dollars, so 20% of your total QI. You can export all of your QI requisitions for a funding stream, multiply that times 0.2, and that can be your discretionary QI as long as you have that available in your budget. And then you would just want to go in and update these amounts. And then for coaching, the guidance was given between 10 and 20% discretionary, but that's a lot more flexible because you know, coaching hours are always really valued. Dollars sometimes can just get spent. So if you need more than 20% coaching hours, you can put it in there as long as you have available budget to support the staff or the external coaches that are doing the work. So in this case, is it Teresa who's on?
Yes.
So Teresa, what should we change this number of hours to for the discretionary hours for CCAP?
No clue.
Okay, so we can run through this real quick. So if we go to reports, we can find a requisition report for CCAP. Let's see. This is the right one. And we're going to find CCAP, PECC, and we're going to look at coaching. And we're going to say apply, and these are all the approved coaching hours. So I'm going to export this real quick. Coaching hours. And then I'm going to sum up the total hours. And then I'm going to multiply, minus my pooled requisitions. I'm going to multiply that times 0.2. So that gives us 22.8 hours. So why don't we round that up to 23? And then we can pop that in to sugar as 23 hours. Does that sound good to you, Teresa? And you'll just want to verify you have the enough budget and staff time to support that later.
Yeah.
And then we can make the expiration date June 30th for coaching hours. There was an error where you were not able to update the expiration date on requisitions. That has been resolved. So now everyone can update their own expiration date to whatever your council thinks is most appropriate. knowing that the year ends June 30th. Okay, and so we're going to keep this internal coaching, so we're only looking at hours. And then I don't need Bill on here. And then who should this be assigned to, Teresa? Should this be assigned to you, or is there a lead coach you want this assigned to?
It could be assigned to me.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to hit save. We've got 21.75 hours remaining now. So pooled requisition is a lot different than a regular provider requisition because I can just go in and update the assigned hours. In a provider requisition, you don't have permission to do that. You need to go through the transfers. And the only reason why you need to go through transfers is it gives you a much better record of the fact that you changed the initial assigned funds or coaching hours, and you can run a report on all the changes. You can't run a report on value changing in a field. So that's the reason why, and OEC was definitely needing to have that information for reporting purposes. So now we're going to go back over to our transfers, and I'm going to retype this in. I think it will update. Let's see, maybe I'll go to a different one real quick and then go back. Maybe it'll update. That's a little trick. You can get it to update. So now it's saying 21.75. So this remaining balance is negative 10.25. Teresa, how many do you want to transfer to Life Center Academy? Do you want them to have more than the additional 10.25? Like, are you expecting to do additional coaching hours, like maybe 15 or something like that?
Yeah, we wanted to take them up, yeah, to 15 is good.
Okay, great. So first, you're going to need to put in the type, and there's this little help text that lets you know what the difference is. So a conversion allows you to transfer from QI dollars to coaching hours. A transfer only allows you to transfer between the same requisition type. So we're transferring from internal coaching to internal coaching. So we're just going to go ahead and say transfer, and then the assignment type is going to be hours. The scope, you can say remaining balance. If you said remaining balance, all 21.75 hours from Pueblo would go to Life Center Academy. But instead, I want to say a specific amount, and I want to say 15 hours. Then this forfeiture just allows you to say whether or not it was an official forfeiture by the site. So that would be if you're transferring hours away from a site because the site said, hey, I used 9 of my 10 hours. I'm just not going to use my last hour, so I'm forfeiting it. If you have something in writing that indicates that they forfeited, then you can forfeit those coaching hours to your pooled requisition, and that way they're available to use by other child care providers at your discretion. So then the justification, Teresa, what's the reason why Life Center Academy needed so many additional coaching hours?
It's because of the assessment and the ERS.
Took additional hours than expected to get ready for the Colorado Shines rating?
Yes.
Are they scheduled to rate at this point at an L3 through? Is there a goal that they will submit an L3 through 5 application this year?
No.
No. Okay.
Not yet.
Okay, so their goal is to get to a level 2.
Yes.
Okay, so we can just put that in. And, you know, there's no, you know, you just want to put in a justification that makes sense to you and would also make sense to someone else at it, either one of your team members, or if Office of Early Childhood ever wanted to look at that, they would be able to tell easily, oh, this is, you know, completely a good reason to transfer. Just as a note, the transfers is not actually getting synced to OEC CDHS, so it would just be if OEC requested specifically a rationale for why a certain site got more hours or something like that, then you would provide that upon request. So it's not something we're just freely sending to CDHS, but you want to have available if they ask you a question. Okay, so then this error message box will populate if there's any problem with the transfer. So that's what that's there for. So we're just going to hit save. And it said success. You successfully created the transfer. And if you click on that link, it'll take you right back to that transfer. And there's no error message. So I know that the transfer went through. And this is a snapshot of the balances before the transfer. So let's go look at the actual requisition and make sure that now my balance is higher. So now I can see my total assigned hours is 25, and my hours remaining is 4.75. So I have successfully transferred 15 hours, and you can see from transfers I have all my 15 hours from here, and I can see them here. And actually, I just realized that this is on the DECC team, even though it's TECC, so I'm going to fix that real quick. And this will always auto-assign to you and your team, so you don't have to worry about changing that. Okay, great.
We had a couple questions.
Okay.
KDS stated, we do not have access to change the amounts on the assigned hours.
You do on any requisition that is the type pooled. Otherwise, you need to do a transfer. So provider requisitions, you cannot just change the assigned funds. You need to be able to do a transfer.
Okay, and then Rebecca said, our coaches are FTE, we do not assign hours. Therefore, most of our programs have a lot of negative hours. Is this a problem?
So I think you just want to, you can use it as sort of a budgeting tool and a tracking tool. So, you know, in a certain year, in a particular year, your coaches can only do so many hours in a year. So you can take that total number of coaching hours you can provide in a year, divide it by your number of provider sites in whatever way makes sense, and then update that assigned hours to be those hours. If you don't want to do that beforehand, you can just do transfers after the fact. And you probably would want to do that something like quarterly, maybe before quarterly reporting, just to make sure that it kind of makes sense from a data perspective. Most of the time, I think OEC is only really going to look at hours used and the original assigned hours. So they're not really as concerned with negatives. That's really for an internal, you know, make sure that you're on track, you're on budget, that kind of thing. You'll also get a lot of emails about negative requisitions. Any other questions about transfers? Any questions about how I ran this report so I could get to my 20% discretionary value? This is called the assigned requisitions by type, status, and funding. And you can run it by QI dollars or coaching, and then by a funding stream. Well, if there aren't any other questions, we actually have our developers here, and we're working through several big tasks. So we're happy to end the call a little early. We wanted to let you know that our office will be closed next week. Joni will still be fielding support desk questions next week. Probably not on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Marianne will be here at the beginning of the week. And then ECLA's office is closed the week following. So we're going to try and make sure we're still covering all of the support questions, but it may be a little slower just due to the holidays.
Sharon?
Yes.
Sharon, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Sandy. I just wanted to ask you, when you guys record these webinars, is it on the new ECLA site? Is that where they're?
So if you go to support.ecla Colorado, there is a section once you log in. So you do need to log in to access all of the information.
Okay.
And you don't see this. This is what it looks like on our side. And we're going to get this fixed, so don't worry about that. So there's the announcements, and then there's recorded webinars and trainings. And they're all the Friday support calls and the sugar training webinars. So you can click here, and here's the agenda from last week, and here's the actual webinar. We also have a YouTube channel, so you can go watch all of them in a row if you want.
And when you record a webinar like you did today, how long does it take before it ends up getting on this site?
We try to upload it the same afternoon, but sometimes it involves a couple steps, or we've got things coming up. So I would say always by the following Monday, so always within the weekend.
Great.
Awesome. And then the other thing is announcements. Hopefully this has been helpful. We've been forwarding as announcements anything from OEC or Qualistar. There was some new guidance from Qualistar that came out around the scoring restructure, or anything that we send to the sugar users list. We are putting that under announcements. So you can see the original email and any attachments that came through. And we will be doing that ongoing so that everybody has a good track history of all the information that's being sent out. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much. We hope you all have a great weekend.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good one.
Are you there?
We are still here. Do you have a question?
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to access the CCAP rubric because we've got some that we'll be accepting here next week or week after, I guess. And when I go to the support, it says that it's not there anymore.
Let's see. You go to the Trello board?
No, I was looking at the support board. I can actually either Trello or this, both of them say no, it's not there anymore.
Oh, you know what? It's because it was posted on our old support website and we were just linking to it. So who is it that we're talking to? I'd be happy to email that to you.
Yeah, this is Deb at Early Childhood Council of Boulder County.
Okay, perfect. We'll get that emailed to you. And then at some point soon we will get them all reposted on the new support site.
Okay. That
Perfect.
sounds great. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, bye.